All right, all right.
All right, all
So it's
right.
Kyra Gardner.
Yes.
I'm here with Kyra Gardner, and I just watched Living with Chucky a couple times. Well, first of all, going in, Emma sent this to me, and anytime Emma sends me something, I get excited because I know it's going to be something special. And
Aw.
this did not disappoint.
Oh,
Um,
yay.
it starts off as a documentary about the making of like all the Chucky movies, and then the last half hour it takes a turn, and I absolutely adored that part. The sense of camaraderie and family and openness everyone and joy everyone has around being each other was really came through in your documentary, and so
Oh,
nailed that.
thank you.
I guess I'll mention this. You had a framing device of the Chuck because you're going through the Chucky movies. You start playing the VHS tapes, and then at some point you get to the DVDs and you start putting in the DVDs. I thought that was a really interesting framing device. It kind of gives you the era that it's in without plastering the year on the screen. How did that come about?
Yeah, thank you for noticing that because I was like, I don't know if anybody will appreciate this as much as I do. But
Oh, I do.
yeah, it's like, first of all, your worst fear as a documentary filmmaker and a talking head documentary is, oh goodness, people are going to be bored. We need some visual breathers. And so I think that served as a way to break it up. But exactly, that was my intention, to show how long the franchise has lasted, going from VHS to Blu-rays. And I actually was inspired to do that from the Ted Bundy tapes on Netflix. And their title sequence involves like a tape recorder, and you seeing a bunch of different years on it and things like that. And I was like, oh, there's definitely a way to do this, not with a tape recorder, but with VHSs. So my parents still happen to have our VHS player, and it was over COVID. So I went to my parents' basement and just filmed all of that in a day by myself.
Is this going to be? I imagine it has to be. It almost has to be. But is there a box set, a Chucky box set, and this documentary is going to be featured in that, right? Yes, no.
A Chucky box. Oh, like Universal's box sets.
Yeah, because because normally you got a box set and you got a documentary, but this is the documentary. Like if you're putting out a box set, this is the you can't not put this in there. It has to be.
That's a great question. Well, I obviously did this independently from Universal, so it's up to them, but that's a great, I would love for that to happen. Maybe if Chucky fans are as adamant as you are, that'll be a possibility, because that's what happened with my short documentary of this, is it's on the Cult of Chucky bonus features and box sets. So that would definitely make sense. I'm not opposed to that. I hope that could be worked out in the future, because you got to have the documentary on the DVDs.
You get to work with your dad on this. I also got to work with him on Studio 666, which another movie which was a banger, and then I believe Cult of Chucky as well. You've done a bunch of stuff, but what's it like working with family and friends? Because that's just got to be like making a movie in your backyard, just a ton of fun.
Yeah, that's kind of what Studio 666 felt like, was making a movie in your backyard, because I just got to carpool with my dad to set every day. And but it's interesting because I grew up visiting my dad in the makeup trailer and seeing what my dad did at work. But now these past few years, it's like the first time where I am stepping into that makeup trailer as an equal, and I am also hired on that like production to do my job. And so it was really cool to finally have that dynamic with my dad, and it was so fun. I don't know how to describe it other than being really fun, but also very, very cool to watch like him do his stuff fully in action. Studio 666, I got to see the entire process of how they made everything, and then being there on set for it. And I love practical effects, so getting to see every facet of that movie, from like conception to my dad actually doing it on set, I was so ecstatic. And vice versa, I think my dad probably thought it was interesting to see me work and interviewing the band on set and things. And then we actually worked together on the Chucky reshoots for season 2 of Chucky. I helped puppeteer because I've puppeteered Chucky on what I could or was allowed to since I was like 15, anything that's been in LA. And that was really fun as well, to just work together and collaborate, and as well as with the other puppeteers. It's cool. That's all I want to do in my career, is just make movies with my dad's effects.
It looks like just about everything you could do in a movie: writing, directing, editing, makeup work, like all sorts of stuff. What's your favorite aspect of film? Like, if you could pick one to do for the rest of your life, what would that job be?
Definitely directing.
Yeah. And what is it about that kind of juices you up, I guess?
Well, I have a particular vision for what I want to do, so I want to be the one to do it. But also, it allows you to collaborate. I just like collaborating with people, and that allows you to collaborate with so many different departments rather than just your own. You have to be involved with the writers, producers, the production design, special effects, makeup. You kind of get to have your hands in everything without taking on the stress of it all. And actors, I love, although I haven't done a whole lot of narrative yet, since I kind of dove into documentary filmmaking first, I love getting to work with actors and go through the process of why. If I didn't go to film school, I wanted to be in psychology or criminology at one point. So just why we do the things we do, and choices and things like that. I love getting to work through that type of stuff, and there's nothing like directing.
Actually, speaking of directing, or second unit directing, you did that on Studio 666, if I'm correct. What is that? It's a credit I've seen in a lot of movies. I'm not quite sure what exactly that is.
Yes, I IMDb is not correct in that.
Oh, okay.
I didn't direct second unit. I directed the making of that movie. So which is a whole other, it's basically like a documentary. But second unit directing is where the director is busy with one thing that's scheduled that day, and say you need like insert shots of a stunt car drive or something like that, that's in the same facility or a different area. You'll have like a secondary director go do the more less performance-based pieces, or like stunts. A lot of times stunt coordinators will direct second unit for stunts if the director can't be there.
And also, back to Living with Chucky, you got some great interviews, not just the family stuff, which is really touching, but you have probably one of the greatest character actors ever in Lynn Shay. She's great and everything. I just want to take some time to pray at the altar of Lynn Shay, if I may.
Okay, yeah, same though.
But you got her, you got John Waters. John Waters is always fun. Like, what do you get nervous, or do you get excited? Like, I imagine interviewing John Waters or Lynn Shay, it's like, okay, interview's over, let's just hang out.
Yeah, actually with Lynn, it was like that because I had met Lynn briefly two times before that, and we did it at her house, and that was exactly the vibe. She was like, you should come hang out sometime, we'll have tea. And she's just the sweetest person who just happens to play some of the craziest characters. But yeah, I was more so intimidated for John Waters' interview, especially because I flew to New York to get other interviews and then drove down with my cinematographer to Baltimore, and it was at his house. So it was so intimidating to go to John Waters' home and interview him there. And he was in the middle of writing a book at the time. I'm not sure if it's out yet or what the title is, but he was so gracious to set aside time for us. So he was like downstairs with his writing team and assistants. And then while we were we set up everything, and then he came up for the interview, and then was so busy he had to go right back to it. But that was the same sentiment as well there, of just, I wanted to pick his brain for so many hours after that and hang out with him. He was so funny. But yeah, that it's interesting because both of those people, my dad met Lynn on There's Something About Mary, I believe was the first movie they did together. And then obviously John Waters and my dad knew each other from Seed, but also then my dad worked on Hairspray later. So they've both kind of also in a weird way been distant family. And now they're not in the Chucky family, but distant family that I was getting to spend more time with and meet on a deeper level, which was really cool and weird.
And also in the documentary brings up the story about, you know, Chucky kind of, you know, performance is done, Chucky goes down and then comes up and tells him to fuck off. And you lean into that, you know, it's not just a funny story, it kind of highlights the artistry behind puppetry. And I think that really comes through as well, between that, Gremlins, Jim Henson, you know, Muppet stuff. But the way that puppets kind of come alive when you have a team, like I don't know how many people are working Chucky at one time, but the coordination and artistry behind that and the teamwork behind that is pretty great.
Yes. Yeah. It's depending on what type of movement is happening, it's anywhere between 4 to 7 people to sometimes more if they have the crew available for it. Because there is so much that goes into operating a puppet, but also a puppet that utilizes some animatronics and some old school green screen rods. So you really have to think as a collective team. And I don't think we highlight that enough for any puppeteer team on whatever they're puppeting, but especially Chucky, because there are so many limitations, and the fact that he's a 3-foot doll is like, somebody's got to be over here, you know, everybody's like contorting their bodies to be out of the shot or what have you. And that's a lot harder when it's a smaller puppet too.
Yeah. I got one final question, because my 7-year-old nephew, when I told him I was interviewing someone that works on the Chucky movies, well, I'm talking with the director of Chucky documentaries. I don't know what a documentary is, but Chucky. But he wanted to know.
Andy's been nice to him, so why is he trying to get into Andy's body?
Oh, that's a great question to ask. I'm not the writer, but so I can't speak for Don Mancini, but you know, I think it's a lesson in innocence and kindness. It's kind of like if you've seen the Scooby-Doo live action movie where they needed like a pure soul, which was Scooby-Doo. It's kind of the same thing of like, you can't get any purer than Alex Vincent, 7-year-old Alex Vincent, 6-year-old Alex Vincent. Yeah, because that was Chucky never wanted a friend. He wanted a meat sack to put his soul in.
Yeah.
So what better? It was just fate, honestly. The stars were aligned.
Yeah. Well, I understand that, but I'm not 7.
Yeah, no, that's a great like question to ask as a 7-year-old.
But Kyra, thanks very much for coming on with me, and really love the documentary. It goes in directions I did not expect, and congratulations on it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for your time.